If reporters want to go try to find more, I can't say that they're not going to be able to find another picture or find another, you know, another person who may want to come out on their own, but I'm not going to contribute to that.
All right, that part of the interview that Mr. Weiner did with Mr. Carter, do you think he helped himself more or hurt himself more? I mean, the takeaways from it were, yeah, there could be more stuff out there, among other things.
Right.
I mean, you roll these things out for these guys. He had to know the question was coming.
Yeah, I just got to say, for years, like, I have clients, and you get interview offers, and I'd say, yeah, do that one, do that one, do that one. And then they'd say, Dominic Carter wants to interview your client. I'd say, whoa! Dominic has a really terrific style of interviewing, and you got to watch it.
What I love is when he says, you know I respect you, right? Then as soon as you do that, what I would advise is get up and run. Whatever he tells you about, like, I've always thought so highly of you. All right, turn him up.
And when Dom gets into rapid fire mode, it's like something's going to come out. You know?
Should Weiner have had a better answer for that question with the other pictures?
He should have been prepared for it. I mean, that's a question that I can't. I mean, you thought of it automatically because you're a good reporter, but he should have been ready for that. I mean, that's a natural question, and nobody asked it. He's done 100 interviews since the time, and no one asked it, but you did, of course.
One thing I did get, one of the things I got, Dominic, from the interview was he was loaded for bear for Christine Quinn, and he ain't the only one here. It was go after the city council speaker by not just he, but basically every challenger here. And they went after time after time. She was almost in the political dunking booth, if you will, this week. There was the anti-Quinn ad produced by frequent RFL contributor here, Scott Levinson, from a group called New York Is Not for Sale, taking shots at some of her decisions. They had a heated back and forth debate in the debate this past week between public advocate and fellow candidate Bill de Blasio over stop and frisk. And you got comments. You got a bunch of folks here, Dom, that are going after her. And I guess my question is this more because she's the front runner, or is this more because they see her as a target-rich candidate here that these guys have been waiting to go after?
They've been waiting. They've been sharpening their knives for years to go after Christine Quinn. One, because she's the front runner. Two, because they despise her for aligning herself with Bloomberg over term limits. Yeah. And Democrats feel, you know, one of the worst kept secrets in New York is what? Republicans, if we consider Bloomberg a full Republican, they've had City Hall in overwhelming Democratic New York City, what, 8 years under Rudy, 20 years. Yep. A Republican has had City Hall in New York for 20 years. And they felt they could have got it 4 years ago, but Christine Quinn blew it. That's what they feel.
Yeah. And is there any thinking that if she goes, there's a clear person who emerges? Or is it just a pig pile after that who knows comes out of it?
Pig pile, but
great expression.
But yeah, I like that word. But I do say, don't, as I wrote in the Huffington Post, don't sleep on Weiner. I'm telling you, this guy may very well be the next mayor. Notice the way I said it.
Say his name
of the city of New York.
A bad pun here. You have somebody else?
I sleep with my back. No,
yeah.
Wait, what did I say?
Moving on. Yeah, just stop.
Okay.
But if it's not Anthony Weiner, who do you think?
Yeah, I think Bill de Blasio in a low turnout primary with the Working Families Party behind him and the unions.
So what about
could surprise
and the black
people.
Vote?
Thompson and the black vote. Like Thompson's definitely in there. Thompson's a moderate, like a lot of out-of-borough Democrats would like Thompson. Anything could happen
what does it become, a turnout thing? Who can get their voters to the polls for the primary, or is it like a dynamic public personality? Whoever plays better on camera sort of takes this thing.
I mean, I think you have to play the press up, and there's going to be intense press on the race, especially with Weiner back in there. But there's going to be a lot of attention on it. But at the end of the day, it's pull. It's pull.
Richard,
and no one pulls better than the unions.
But you know what's crazy about it? Let's say me and you are the candidates, right? The both of us make it to the runoff. We can't destroy each other because the day after the runoff, we got to call the loser and say, hey, buddy, you got to endorse me tomorrow.
Do you think they really care, though? Don't you think they'll destroy each other no matter what, just get out of the primary?
No, I think that Ferrer and Mark Green, the bad blood, those guys hate each other to this very day.
The really interesting thing is that this is beginning to look like an old-fashioned Democratic primary in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, those Scott's ads on Chris. I mean, it's tough stuff.
Which means nobody wins.
Yeah, I mean, it just.
Which is a Republican consultant.
I've been waiting a long time. You know?
Now, by the way, we've been making news in this show, obviously, with the interview with Anthony Weiner. We've talked to a whole bunch of candidates here. And on Monday, see what Dominic can get here from the next candidate, Joe Lhota. He's scheduled to sit down with Dom. As I said, this coming Monday. We'll have it for you Monday night at 6 p.m. Okay, more election news, and this time north of the city in Westchester County. County Democrats selecting New Rochelle Mayor Noam Bramson. A bit of a surprise as their nominee to take on Republican incumbent Rob Astorino come November. Bramson on RFL yesterday talking about the county's lingering housing discrimination suit and other subjects.
The strategy that County Executive Astorino has undertaken in recent years has been self-evidently a disaster. We're losing court case after court case. Just a couple of days ago, we learned that the U.S. Attorney may be holding the county executive in contempt. I don't think we need the county executive to promise to protect us from an imaginary make-believe threat.
Now, Rob Astorino, relatively popular county exec whose campaign is being managed by a guy to my left here, Bill O'Reilly, as well as one of our favorites, Jessica Proud. But he could have a tough re-election bid. Westchester, as you know, very Democratic county when you look to registration with a 2-to-1 advantage there. First of all, Bill, did you think you guys were going to be facing Bramson? I thought most people thought the betting money was that Jenkins was going to come out of the Democrat side.
Yeah, we saw it as a coin toss. I mean, Bramson came out a week or 10 days ago and said that he had it to a reporter, which doesn't really mean anything because votes can change and votes can shift. But I think it was a 50-50 going into it, and Bramson pulled it out, which was good for him. He put together an organization. But you're right, it's going to be a tough race for any Republican in Westchester County. It's a 2-to-1 thing. And Republican always goes in as an underdog here. But Rob's got a really good record. I mean, we get a good record to stand on. And, you know, our basic thought is one good term deserves another. He's done what he said he was going to do when he came in here. So it should be a good race.
Well, certainly he's held taxes down. Now, among the arguments you're going to hear from Bramson is certainly going to be the lawsuit and the lingering questions that this still hangs over the county here with a possible big exposure at the end of the day. What's the county executive's answer to that question?
Well, I would find it extraordinary if Noam Bramson were to take the side of HUD in this case. And to say that he'd be willing to dissolve the zoning in Westchester County, that would be disastrous. You don't just dissolve zoning for the government housing, you dissolve it for any developer that comes in. You could change every street in Westchester through that. It's a really dangerous thing. You could put there's no restrictions on height, density. You could put a 10-story building in a one-family neighborhood anywhere in the county. That's not a good move. I mean, Rob is standing up to that. I'd much rather be on that side of the issue than where Bramson apparently is.
I mean, that's really up to the individual municipalities to deal with their own zoning issues.
But the federal government is trying to force the county executive to sue those municipalities.
Right, if they don't comply on their own, and most of them have already complied on their own. Meanwhile, you've got that up against, you know, a county that's discriminatory in its housing policies.
It's not discriminatory.
It absolutely is.
It's absolutely not. Based on what?
Based on the fact that you have a lot of communities where there are little to no minority representation.
Westchester is discriminatory based on economics. I mean, you can buy a house anywhere in this county if you can afford it. It's based on economics. There's places in this county I can't live because I can't afford it. That's the
But Bill, isn't it a more basic issue, by the way, which says, hey, he wasn't even elected when Spano agreed to the deal. So his predecessor signed the deal. He may not like the deal, but a deal's a deal. The Fed said, do this, or you're going to be banged here with not only another $7 million fine here, but you could look exposure in the hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't, where does he have the authority to say, never mind, I don't care what you guys agreed to, I don't think it's right?
Yeah, the deal was to build 750 units of housing at a cost of about $51 million. The county is ahead of schedule in building that housing. It's met the deal, it's meeting the requirements, but HUD then said afterwards, we want you to go, quote, beyond the four corners of the settlement. What does beyond the four corners of the settlement means? It means it wants us to Westchester to do things that are not in the settlement.
Have you polled on this and on
no, we've not.
approach?
Yeah,
that really is the big wild card in this race.
We don't need to poll on it. We know what's right and wrong on it. HUD is overreaching in this.
And really, the other question is, does the public know and care? And will that be reflected come November? All right, certainly to be continued. Now, when we come back here, we're approaching an anniversary, nothing to do with politics, but to do with Mother Nature. 6 months here since Hurricane Sandy slammed into our region. Seemed to have gone by in a blink for many, unless, of course, you're one of those victims, or your town was, or your state was, or your economy was. We're going to preview a Files One special report on the storm and its aftermath. That's coming up next.